Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing really good. Okay, so let's begin our chapter number 6 of our class 8, and we are going to cover the topic the decline of havelis today. Okay, so in this topic, basically, we are going to get to know about the haveli structure and then we will come to the colonial bungalows. Okay, so the colonial bungalows are quite different from the haveli structure, right? But in spite of that, let's begin the paragraph without wasting time. Okay, so the first thing here it coming that Mughal aristocracy. What is Mughal aristocracy? Aristocracy means the noble people's society. So the noble people who belongs to Mughals have their own society known as Mughal aristocracy. So the Mughal aristocracy in the 17th and 18th centuries lived in really grand mansions called havelis. Okay, so these grand mansions called havelis. Okay, now let's get to the next point that the historians spotted more than 100, you know what, more than 100 such havelis on a map, and they around Delhi or in India with really great compounds and courtyards and fountains. Okay, now let's get to the next paragraph. In the next paragraph we are going to know about the haveli structure. Okay, so how haveli looks like, let us see. Okay, so the havelis have such kind of structure like this. Okay, in this structure they have a really great and beautiful gateways, entrance gateways, and just when you get inside the haveli there's a courtyard veranda type structure where the chairperson sits, and here the under colleagues or the colleagues of the king or the owner of the haveli used to sit. Okay, on the sideways of this alley. Now this was the courtyard thing, and just right in the front of courtyard there would be a fountain. Okay, it's just maintains a beauty and gives a really very beautiful kind of and freshness type of thing, so that's why they used to make this fountain just right after the courtyard. Okay, now as you saw the courtyard, this was the chairperson and these were the colleagues, right? So just around the courtyard there is a hall. Okay, this hall has a lot of public rooms. These public rooms are supposed for whom? These public rooms are meant to be uh, to for the living of visitors, that tour who wants to tour the haveli, who wants to business with the haveli, who wants some part of haveli, who want whatever kind of stuff. So it is basically for visitors and the business people. Okay, now, now let's get to the next thing, that as this was your hall, just in the inner side of Haveli, in the inner courtyard, when you cross the inner courtyard goes like this, you would be able to see a lot of pavilions and rooms who are specially meant for the household ladies. Okay, these ladies have a separate part of the Haveli because as you know that male domination society was there, so in this area, in this whole area of halls and courtyards, this was exclusively covered by males. Okay, but this area was covered by women, and they have their own things to do, they have their own how they used to do their all household around this area. Okay, now the next important point is that havelis used to shelter a lot of families. Okay, a lot of families havelis used to shelter. Okay, and the second point is uh, a lot of families, sorry, yes. Okay, so a lot of families havelis used to shelter, but the haveli's furniture was not that useful compared to the space or the rooms in the havelis were became useful in the future for the future generations. Okay, so this was all in this haveli paragraph. Okay, now let's get to the next thing, that even in the mid 19th century, Kamr al-Din Khan, you know who's Kamr al-Din Khan? I don't think that you know, but I'm telling you. Okay, so the Kamr al-Din Khan was a popular, belonged to the Mughal aristocracy, and he had his own haveli. But why his haveli especially mentioned here? Especially his haveli is mentioned here because his haveli had a lot of beautiful structures, and he used to shelter a lot of people, and or house a lot of people's families in his haveli, even including his cart drivers, his tent pitchers, his torch bearers, and everyone. Okay, as well as accountants, clerks, and household servants. For servants also, he used to shelter the families of servants too. Okay, now let's get to the next thing. Many of the Mughal amirs were unable to maintain these large establishments under conditions of British rule. As British rule came, so what did Britishers mainly did to India? They looted us. They just took all of our important and precious resources and things, right? So many of the Mughal amirs are nobleman, means in Hindi we call amir to those who are rich, right? So they many maintain these large establishments under conditions of British. Why? Because Britishers were looting, and they were, people have to pay a lot of taxes, so they were not even able to maintain their havelis. So that is why what was happening, havelis were subdivided and sold. Okay, they were having a subdivision and was being selling. Okay, now what is the next thing here? Okay, yes, just a second. Yes. Next thing that I told you about Haveli was like this, right? Like this kind of structure. Now just imagine this is the backward type of backward place for the Haveli. So this whole area was used to be mainly bought by the mercantile upper mercantile classes, and this part of Havelis, they were subdivided and were bought by the upper mercantile class, or and also they made these parts of Havelis as the warehouses or shops too, because it is just around the street. So this is your street, so if this is your street, then people who are going through the street will be able to see these shops and warehouses, and will get attracted to your stuff and can buy it. So that is how they get profits, right? Now let's get to the next thing here, that but still, even after subdividing and selling them, a lot of Havelis came into decay and disused. They were not used properly. Now let's go to the colonial bungalow. Was quite different from the Havelis. Meant for one nuclear family. First difference, Havelis were meant for a lot of families, and colonial bungalow was only for one nuclear family. Okay, one nuclear family. Next thing here, it is telling about that the Havelis can be more than one storied structure, but the colonial bungalows will be only one storied structure. Okay, they can only be on mainly on the ground floor. Okay, there is no other story or and no other level, or you can say floors in the Haveli. Okay, so it is only one storage structure. It will be always one storage structure, colonial bungalows, and they had pitched roof. So they also had pitched roof. Havelis can have a little different roofs, and somewhere they also used to have, but this kind of roof is known as pitch roof. These slopes in which roof the slopes are present, such roofs are known as the pitched roof. And these are mainly they are set up around in 1 or 2 acres of land. Okay, important point. Then here is a 1 or 2 acres of land upon open ground. It had separate living and dining rooms and bedrooms and a wide veranda. Okay, so this is how it works. इसमें बहुत सारे आप इधर you can also see the structure of Haveli just over here. It is not Haveli, this is the colonial bungalow. So it is just an example. You will say where is the pitched roof, but it has not mentioned the pitched roof. It is old colonial bungalow in New Delhi found. Okay. Now it is telling about the veranda. So how does verandas look like? So if this is your you can say this is your gate. Okay, this is your gate of colonial bungalow. This veranda is going inside. Again, one veranda is coming from the other side, and one veranda is coming from this side. So this place is the dining room. where ladies of the houses used to sit and guide their servants, because in colonial bungalows there are a lot of dozens of servants, and whereas in the havelis there are very few servants, not very few servants, but compared, if we compare, so colonial bungalows have more servants. Okay, so ladies used to sit here and guide the tailors and the servants how to work and how to do this stuff all. Okay, now colonial bungalows also had some other speciality, that kitchens and stables, servants quarters were in a separate space from the main house. So if this is your colonial bungalow here, this is your boundary of the house, and if this is your boundary, so just aside the boundary there is a small room for the servant quarter, as a servant quarter, or the stables for horses and kitchens and all stuff. Okay. Okay, now let's get to the next thing, that just a second. Yes, running in the front and sometimes on three sides. We are talking about verandas here. Kitchen, stable, servants' quarter were in separate space from the main house. The house was run by a dozens of servants, as I told you before. The women of the household often sat on the verandas to supervise tailors or other tradesmen. So, supervising tailors or other tradesmen or servants or whoever is coming into the house. Okay, so this is how colonial bungalows used to work, function, and we also talked about the havelis. So I hope this paragraph is quite clear to you, and if you get any kind of questions and any kind of doubts, please mention in the comment section so that I'll be able to answer that. Thank you. Have a good day.